In the final months of World War II, when the world was already drowning in destruction, a strange event took place that shocked even the soldiers who had already seen the worst horrors of war. This story begins in early 1945, when Germany was collapsing under the pressure of the Allied advanced cities had been reduced to ruins. Millions were displaced, and the German High Command was desperately searching for any way to turn. The tide rumors began spreading through different regions that a secret unit was operating at night, carrying out missions that no one could fully understand. This unit was whispered about among German soldiers themselves, many calling it the Ghost Battalion, because its members appeared silently, completed their mission, and vanished without leaving a trace. What made these rumors even stranger was that many German soldiers insisted that these men were not normal soldiers. Their uniforms were unfamiliar, their weapons looked different, and they never spoke to anyone. The story became so widespread that it reached the ears of several frontline commanders, one of whom decided to investigate. This commander, whose name has been lost to history, received repeated reports from civilians and retreating troops that at night groups of soldiers marched silently through destroyed towns, but these soldiers did not look like any known German unit. Some witnesses claimed their faces were covered with masks, others said their eyes glowed faintly in the dark. The commander first dismissed these as hallucinations caused by stress and starvation, but one night he personally witnessed something he would never forget. During a retreat in a small forest region near East Prussia, the commander and his unit heard footsteps approaching. They quickly hid behind fallen trees, expecting enemy troops to appear, but what emerged from the darkness stunned them. A line of soldiers marched slowly, carrying weapons that reflected the moonlight. Their helmets looked similar to German helmets, but with strange modifications. Their coats were long, reaching their boots, and their movements were unnaturally synchronized. The commander tried to call out to them, but they did not respond. Instead, the entire line of mysterious soldiers continued walking forward without breaking formation. Even when the commander's flashlight beam hit their faces, their eyes did not blink, and their expressions were frozen like stone. After they passed, the commander ordered two of his men to follow them from a distance. The two soldiers returned an hour later. Terrified, one of them was shaking uncontrollably. They reported that the Ghost Battalion entered an abandoned factory on the edge of the forest. Inside, they saw more of the same mysterious soldiers standing still in absolute silence, as if they were waiting for a command. Then, something even more disturbing happened. The soldiers said that the entire battalion seemed to disappear inside the factory without walking out. Then, when they entered the factory, moments later, they found nothing but old, broken machinery. No footprints, no weapons, no sign that anyone had ever been there. Word of this event began spreading quickly across German ranks. Some believed the Ghost Battalion was a secret experiment created by the Nazi leadership in a last, desperate attempt to build a superhuman force. Others believed it was a psychological tactic whispered among enemies to create fear. But the reports kept coming, and they came not just from German troops, but from Soviet soldiers as well. During the battle for Kinsberg, a Soviet reconnaissance team claimed to have been followed during the night by silent figures that vanished whenever they were approached. One Soviet soldier swore he saw a group of shadowy soldiers standing on a destroyed bridge, watching them without moving. When the Soviets tried to cross the bridge, the figures dissolved into the fog, leaving no trace after the war. Historians tried to analyze these reports. Some suggested that sleep deprivation caused hallucinations. Others believed that these sightings were misidentified enemy soldiers, but several inconsistencies could not be explained. The weapons described did not match any known rifles from that era. The helmets had designs never documented, and the masks worn by the mysterious soldiers had no historical record. Furthermore, in 1962, during reconstruction work in East Prussia, workers discovered underground tunnels beneath the same abandoned factory where the Ghost Battalion had last been seen. Inside the tunnels, they found old equipment, unusual metal parts, and pieces of uniforms, none of which matched any official German design. This discovery revived interest in the Ghost Battalion mystery, but before the public could learn more, the site was sealed by authorities, and no information was released for decades. Some conspiracy theorists claimed that the Ghost Battalion was the result of a failed experiment, attempting to create emotionless soldiers using a combination of drugs, intense conditioning, and secret technology. Others believe that during the chaos of the final months of the war, Germany was testing units that were never recorded, fearing the information would spark panic. Still others argue that the battalion never existed at all, and that the sightings were the result of widespread trauma, exhaustion, and fear. But the detail and consistency of so many eyewitness accounts make the story difficult to fully dismiss. In the years that followed, many retired soldiers, both German and Soviet, repeated the same descriptions. Without ever knowing each other, a line of silent soldiers, moving like shadows, long coats, helmets, with strange designs, masked faces, and no sound. Except their synchronized footsteps, even today, researchers occasionally visit the region, collecting testimonies. From the last surviving witnesses, one elderly man described how he saw these soldiers pass by his farmhouse one night. He said they walked through heavy snow without leaving footprints. Another villager recalled that her dog refused to go outside whenever the silent soldiers appeared, acting as if something unnatural was near. The greatest question remains: who were they? If they truly existed, were they human? Were they an experimental unit erased from history, or were they something else entirely? As time passes, the truth grows more distant, but the mystery of the Ghost Battalion remains one of the most chilling and unexplained stories from World War II. Even today, people living in the old war zones say that on quiet winter nights, you can still hear the sound of synchronized footsteps, echoing through the fog, footsteps that stop the moment you try to follow them, leaving only silence and questions that may never be answered.